This episode of the AFTN Soccer Show is brought to you by Recovery Family Law. Recovery Family Law is here to help you solve your family law problems. If you are going through a separation or divorce, they can provide you the confidence to make good decisions and support to enforce your rights. If you have a question about property, children or support, they have the answers. It's not too late or too early to get help. Email info@recoveryfamilylaw.ca or visit recoveryfamilylaw.ca and let their team get you excellent results.
Are you sitting comfortably? Then we'll begin.
10 minutes left. Yeah, but there's still some time. It's not the final score. We need more than the numbers we're given. Show us you live and breathe the game. You're more than a name. That's what we came for. We can bring you more than the score. Every story. Let's take this thing off of the field into the real world, away from the numbers,
Hello, how do you do? We are the boys in white and blue, and we're back with another episode of There's Still Time, the AFTN Soccer Show, brought to you in partnership with recoveryfamilylaw.ca. I'm Michael McCall,
And I'm Zachary Eisenheimer.
and we're spoiling you rotten this week. It's going to be about 5 to 6 hours of AFTN podcast in the space of a week. I mean, this is what, give the people what they want. I don't know that it's this, but give the people what they want. It's just been so much to talk about, so much football stuff.
There's a lot going on.
Oh, there is. And it's like, we've even cut stuff from this show to go on the show at the weekend. That's
Yeah.
how much stuff it is. But on this show, it's a special late midweek show, and we'll be asking the important questions, such as, can the Whitecaps take the Bulls by the horns in New York, or will they get gored? How important is ball familiarity? And how many Ryans is too many Ryans in one BC place? Well, we're not fully going to be talking about that. I mean, the big news that came out on Thursday, the Whitecaps are playing TV team Wrexham. And we're not actually going to delve into that on this show because there's a lot to talk about with this friendly announcement, Zach. There's fan disgruntlement at the pricing. A lot of people not understanding why they're playing a fourth tier, soon to be third tier team. And a few other grumbles about playing it before. I saw someone describe it as a big tournament or a major tournament. The league's
I saw that too.
Although there is a point in that because it is, you're in a thing you can actually win a trophy for. So there's a lot to take in. There's a few things I want to kind of look into. So we're going to chat about that probably in a whole part in the next show, episode 612. And we'll have some audio from Axel Schuster around it as well. He did a little bit from Vanni with his thoughts on the game. So we'll get into all that.
It is a really interesting topic because there are a lot of layers to it.
Yeah. It's like an onion, to do my Shrek impression.
Exactly. A lot of nuance to that conversation, which I'm looking forward to us having.
Yeah, well, we'll delve into that in a bit more detail. I didn't want to just cram it into this one because also our midweek shows get slightly less listeners than the weekend ones as well because it's less bedding time, as I've kind of talked about with other stuff. So I want to keep that for the next one that we're going to have at the weekend. But there be dragons coming. Play up the dragon thing. I mean, last night when the Whitecaps did the tweet. And they had a green dragon, not a red dragon, a green dragon and an arrow and soon, I think it was. Everyone assumed it was Wrexham and a friendly. My first thought was, Cal Robinson's coming back as assistant coach. Then my second thought was, oh my God, they're getting Goldie Luke and Chain over to do a halftime show.
That's still possible, right?
Yeah. Although the last halftime show they did, I've talked about this on the show before, was Wales against England, where they've got a song called My Missus is a Nutter, and they introduced it as, this is a song for David Beckham and his wife. And he was playing in the game. And it didn't go down very well. From the English FA and the Welsh FA got a letter of complaint. So yeah, bring them over for a halftime show. I'm all for that. But yeah, we'll delve into that in the next show. We will also delve into the Whitecaps ladies team being in the first ever CONCACAF Women's Champions Cup. And we'll talk about that in the next show. We're going to speak to Whitecaps elite head coach Katie Collar and get Axel Schuster's thoughts on that as well. So that's all coming in the next show. So we've already got like hours of entertainment coming for you in that. And of course, we'll do the New York Red Bulls, Vancouver Whitecaps post-game analysis. But on this show, we're going to do the Red Bulls, Whitecaps pre-game preview, because the Whitecaps are taking their 100% road record to New Jersey. I'm not doing the accent.
Have you been to Dead Bull Arena?
I've never been to New Jersey. The only place in New York I've been is Rochester. Oh, actually Niagara Falls, I guess, as well. But yeah, I've been to Rochester and...
Which stadium in Rochester did you go to?
I didn't go to a stadium. I didn't see a game there. Oh, I've been to Buffalo as well. Actually, I've been to loads of places in upper New York, it turns out. I've been to Buffalo. I shuffled off to Buffalo. I did go to a stadium there. I don't know what it was. I saw a minor league baseball game, and Kenny Rogers was the post-game entertainment. Everyone was there for Kenny Rogers, and I left. But I went to Rochester. When I went over to... This is how our shows end up long. When I went over to the World Cup in the States in 94, we were staying in Detroit, and we met this man and his son in a bar. And his son had cerebral palsy, and they were in Detroit just for some World Cup games, and they said they stayed in Rochester, and we got on really well with them. The kid was really nice. Mason was his name. I remember that. And we got invited back to their place to stay for a couple of days. And they lived on a lake. We were out in a boat. Oh, it was fantastic. Loved it. Lost touch with them as well, so I don't know what happened to them, but it was fantastic, great hospitality. So I've been there, but no, I've never been to Dead Bulls Arena to answer your question. I want to get to all the stadiums, but I don't think I will, but it'd be nice to go.
It's a nice little stadium. I mean, it is out there.
Yeah, I mean, it's not New York, it's New Jersey. Call it what it is, it's the New Jersey Red Bulls. But the Whitecaps are taking their 100% road record to New Jersey on Saturday for a battle of the seconds, as second in the East host second in the West. New York are on 16 points, having played 9 matches, winning 4, drawing 4, and losing just the 1. They've scored 13. They've given up just 9. The Whitecaps are also on 16 points, but from their 8 games, 5 wins, 1 draw, 2 defeats, 17 goals for and 9 goals against, like the Red Bulls. The Whitecaps are third in the Supporter Shield standings. New York are fourth. If you look at points per game, though, the Caps are second and New York are fifth. So it's a battle of the top early pace-setting teams in the West. And the Caps are coming into this with 3 wins in their last 4, while New York are unbeaten in their last 5, 2 wins and 3 draws. But the Red Bulls' last 2 games have both been draws. A home game with Chicago, which was 0-0, and a very good battling 2-2 draw with LAFC that they're going to feel they really should have come away with all 3 points. Now, Vancouver have faced New York 12 times across all competitions in the MLS era. Overall, they've had the better of it with 4 wins, 2 losses, 6 draws though. I fancy a draw in this one, I've got to say, but we'll come to that. 2 of those games, a Caps win and a draw, were in the CONCACAF Champions League as it was then in 2017, the quarterfinals. Remember it well. great performance. And the Whitecaps have done well out in New Jersey the last couple of times they've been there. In league play, the teams... This was interesting when I looked this up, Zach. The teams played every season from 2011 to 2019. But then with things getting mixed up and the Eastern teams playing the West less, this is the first meeting in 5 years. It's the first meeting since that one in 2019. And it's two very different teams from that last game, which was at Red Bull Arena. 2-2 draw. And the last two games between the teams have been 2-2 draws. That 2019 game, see if you remember this one. Scott Sutter, there's some wild names as well. Scott Sutter opened the scoring for the Whitecaps in the 29th minute before a Brian White header tied things up for New York 8 minutes later. Whatever happened to him? An Andy Rose own goal put New York ahead in the 55th before Freddie Montero tied it up in the 61st from the spot after a handball. None of the Whitecaps 18 that day are still at the club. Neither is the coach, Mark DeSantis. The starting lineup that day, Zach, included PC. Do you remember him?
Vaguely, yeah.
On the subs bench, Lucas Venuto.
I remember him, yeah.
Russell Tybert. I mean, what happened to those guys?
Is Russell's role, what's his role? Has that been officially announced?
It's not been officially announced because he was looking at various options and seeing what interested him the most, what felt like the best fit, which I think is a good thing to do. Like, don't just take a job and then you hate it. It's like, look at all the different aspects of the front office of the business and see where you feel your skill set is and what you're going to enjoy. Because, that's what work should be about. It should be doing stuff that you enjoy. That's why we do this. But we don't get paid for it. Although we should. The content we're putting out. Stick us on TV. We're entertaining. Afshin Goatby says so. He can't be wrong.
No.
We'll hear from him in the next part. He's had a fun couple of days. Off that game back in 2019, there's still two New York starters, Sean Nealis and Kyle Duncan, who I hadn't heard of back then, and I'm not even really familiar with now, 5 years later, to be honest. Their sub-keeper, Ryan Mira, is still with him as well. I have heard of, yeah.
Yeah, he's the backup now, yeah.
But that's the past, Zach, and it's a far different Whitecaps beast that's heading to New York from 5 years ago. If we look at how the teams have started, Red Bulls have had 6 different scorers this season, with the Scot that I wanted Vanni to bring here to support Ryan Gauld, Lewis Morgan, leading the way with 6 goals and 2 assists. He also leads the team as well with 23 shots. When I brought Lewis Morgan up to Vanni at the end of the 2022 season, I said, you've got to break the bank, bring this guy here to support Ryan. And he said, but you know what the problem with that is? And I was like, what? You don't want another Scot? He's like, no, I don't play with wingers.
Yeah.
And then he's brought in wingers. So we could have had Lewis Morgan. Like, genuinely, I'd still try and bring him in. Lewis Morgan here, with Gauld, with White, with Pico, with Goldie. That would just be absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, Morgan leads the team with 23 shots, as I mentioned. The Swede, Emil Forsberg, has 2 goals and 2 assists, while the Belgian, Dante Vazier, has 6 assists, leading the team and 1 goal. So a lot of guys kind of standing out from the pack for the Red Bulls. The Whitecaps, it's spreading the love around. 9 different scorers in MLS play and 9 different assisters, which I didn't know. That's pretty good from throughout the team. It's like, to have that depth that is contributing is something we have badly missed in recent years, I think, with the Caps. Goldie has 3 goals and 2 assists, as does Fafa Pico, but Brian White leading the way with 4 goals and 2 assists. Defensively, we're looking at 2 of the best teams in the league. The Whitecaps hold the 3rd lowest XG conceded in the league, with the Red Bulls holding the lowest. 3 clean sheets for the Caps, joint best in MLS. Or is it joint second best? I can't remember now. Might be joint second best. Andreas Kubis is suspended for this one.
That's a big
Pico,
loss.
that's a huge loss. Fafi Pico back training. Tell me your thoughts on this one.
Okay,
I've waffled
Pico,
enough.
Fafa training. Do we know? Did he travel?
Not sure. They're travelling tomorrow.
Oh yeah, of course.
So
I was like,
we're recording this Thursday night, we should mention. So yeah.
yeah, right. That's why no one asked today.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the Fafa piece is huge.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't see him starting, but off the bench, great asset.
Oh yeah. It's interesting. Schwartz has him playing like a 4-4-2, very much a Red Bull kind of, I think, kind of system. Not maybe quite as the same quality as the side in Austria or Germany, but Emil Forsberg is a very talented footballer, and he's older. He was never the fastest player to begin with, but he is like a wily player that you cannot give space to. I mean, if you saw his goal against LAFC in the last match, like, yeah, he'll finish if you give him time and space, like they gave him that game. He'll finish without a question. And he's also creative and just like really high football IQ. And if he's on your team, enjoyable to watch.
Yeah, that IQ thing is huge. And it's something that I've said here, we've lacked at times over the MLS era, is having guys with that football IQ, or at least not enough of them that they're all on the same page, like in the Kenny Miller era. But
yeah. I wonder how the Whitecaps are going to deal with the 4-4-2 and the way they practice and stuff, and how they're going to find it to whether it's going to be easy or going to be difficult for them to break them down, because it will be a really interesting tactical battle, I think.
Well, Vanni's going to have to count on his depth over the next 5-6 weeks, because in May going into the start of June, I think it's 9 games in 29 days.
Yeah.
It's like an insane schedule. So everyone's going to have to be called upon. And I think we'll continue seeing rotation at the back with the back three. I think we'll see Matthias Laborda come in for this one. And then it's who drops out. Is it going to be maybe Tristan Blackman?
Or Utvik?
Yeah, do they give Utvik a rest? I'd like to see Utvik, Laborda and Ranko. I'd like that in this. I like what I've seen from Red Bull. I think Schwartz has put together a really good team. There's no, you look at it and it's like there's no standout big flashy players.
Other than Forsberg?
Well, like even with that, because he is a bit older.
Right.
It's like there's no like shiny young DP lighting it up for them. It's very much like the Whitecaps. It's a workman-like team that he's put together, and they play very attractive football. I've really enjoyed the games that I've seen this year from them.
With Red Bull, like that is partly of how it's set up. Typically, especially in the European sides, is the system is very much like important and very much can be more important than the individuals, or maybe should be in some ways. So it's not surprising to me that, and we know they've come out before and said, hey, we're not going to go back. We're not going to have another Thierry Henry, right? Like they've said that.
Yeah.
And they're taking a different approach. And obviously we've seen the New York side feed into, especially the Leipzig side a little bit over the years, or at least have some players kick on and then find other pathways in Europe.
But like when you talk of feeding as well, like the whole setup that the Red Bulls have from the academy to New York Red Bulls 3, New York Red Bulls 2, and then the first team, it's a model thing for American clubs. Because
they have this system of clubs, which again there's some things I have concerns about, the multi-club ownership thing. I mean, obviously the Red Bull itself, obviously I don't like.
I'm the same. But I try and take that aside. But
yes, so if you want to look
such a great job.
Yeah, if you want to look at the footballing side of things, they have done some good things on the footballing side. And you're right, the pathway, and I mean, all they're doing is what you should be doing in football, right?
Yeah.
You need to produce good players so that they can do well for you and or make you money, right? Like that's.
Well, it's like I mentioned, the two guys that are still here 5 years on, Nealis and Duncan, they've come through the Whitecaps. No, they've come through the Red Bull. They haven't come through the Whitecaps. They've come through the Red Bulls academy system. And it's like, it's fine having those pathways, but the players have to see the end result of getting first team football. And that's something that Red Bull and Dallas have done, I think, way better than any other teams in MLS.
Yeah, and that's the thing is they've done it at youth level, but they've also in the last number of years, Red Bull has done it at the MLS Next Pro level, right? Putting out like championship sides at that level, which is helpful and shows the progression, and has seen some of those players kick on.
They were always strong in USSDA. They were always winning at U15 and U17, U19, and it's just, I mean, they've got a big pool to pick from, and even with the other proper New York club coming in, it's like they're still doing it.
Sorry, did you say proper?
Well, proper as in they're based in New York.
Oh, right. Sorry.
I don't mean proper because,
because it's a second example of a multi club ownership model, right?
Yeah, I know. I don't know what one I hate most. There's a lot of hate to go right. I'm fine to hate all.
We haven't talked about it yet on the show. Totally side note, but there now is finally a stadium plan in place.
Yes.
That's crazy.
Yeah. It's taken, 10 years since it was first?
It's crazy it's taken so long. And
I'll still believe it when it's actually built.
Exactly. Believe it when you see it. But it's like 27,000 seat stadium, right? Yeah.
I mean, I'm pleased for them for that because they've needed it.
Totally.
And like that stadium's not fit for purpose. And if it was any other place, bar New York, they'd be threatening to take the team out the sea.
Exactly. For the good of football in North America, this is the kind of thing that's needed. And you can imagine if it turns into be a good ground, like 27,000 for whether it may be some smaller US men's or women's national team friendlies in there, or they'll, you were joking about it at the beginning, but club friendlies or whatever in there, like it could be quite a special, it could become quite a special place, right?
Oh, absolutely. I definitely want to go and check it out. I've no interest in going to see them play at Yankee Stadium because it's not even the original Yankee Stadium. It's the new Yankee Stadium. Yeah. Like if it was the historic old one they were still at, oh yeah, I'd love to go and just be there and see anything there. But that's our thoughts on the Red Bulls game. How is Vanni approaching it? Well, let's find out. Big game coming up on Saturday. It's the first real trip out east. Well, it is the first trip out east. So it's the first big road trip for you guys this year against a very good Red Bulls side. I was watching the Fox broadcast of the LA Galaxy game on Sunday, and they were trying to say that the Whitecaps position is a false position because they feel you haven't been really tested, and this is the first real test for you of the season, which I disagree with. But just your thoughts on that and what you're expecting from this Red Bull side at the weekend.
Well, on thoughts on that is we are in a false position. I disagree too, because it's we've been tested with the teams that we played so far, so it's we already played also against the number one at West already, and we also, I think we've been unlucky, I would say, quote unquote, in the schedule at the end of the day, because you play only against 6 teams at East, and Toronto and Montreal, we played it every time. So of the 4 teams that we could have picked, we picked at the moment the 2 best team, Miami and Red Bulls. So it's a good thing for the club to have Miami at home. But, from the sports side, it's going to be harder. But, it's going to be a hard game. It's going to be it's a team that, and an organization, to be honest, that I also followed in the last few years, because I like when someone has a clear philosophy and try to do things in a certain way, and even if they are not mainstream at the moment, and that's what they did, the Red Bulls, in soccer in the last few years. And this year they are doing really well. They are keeping, I would say, their usual aggressiveness, but they're even some way I think, more organized than the past with this new coach, and it's really hard to break them down. And also they are still a threat in transition because they score a lot of goals in transition. And the data says that they are the best defensive team in the league so far in terms of goal conceded. So it's going to be a really, 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 really hard game, and we'll need to be on our top behavior also because it's we need to go with no fear, or with no even some kind of okay, it's a hard game, let's do what to do. When we play against an Eastern team, the points are bonus points. So if we lose points, it's not that someone else in our standings makes points. So let's go there and try to win.
So you just mentioned that the Red Bulls are a very strong defensive team, but you guys are also a very strong offensive team.
Yes.
You've been scoring multiple goals per game. What was your message to your players before this game, before traveling?
Yeah, the message to the players is still the same. Like, we need to be, it's true that we are very good offensive, but it's our entire way of playing that allow us to be really good when we have the ball. So we'll have to be very, very aggressive like we've been in Seattle. It's going to be different because the Red Bulls, they play a little less, but they play more a long ball. So we need to be really, really good in winning those battles 1v1 on the long ball and winning the second ball. And then when we have the ball, to do the 2-3 things that we identified, they're going to be key in our game. Like try to make the field as big as we can. The Red Bulls are really good at compact and press you basically with 10 players on the side of the ball. So the more we are able to move the ball from a side to other side and to free our wide players that are doing extremely well so far, the more chance we'll have to win the game, in my opinion.
You mentioned that the Red Bulls like to play defensively compact. Do you feel like maybe playing out wide will be a little more of an emphasis this week to sort of spread them out and create spaces for your attacking players?
Yeah. Not playing them out like kind of immediately, because if you go immediately wide, of course they're able to go boom and create a compactness on one side, and that's what they want. It's more to play from side to side, to be very patient when the ball is in front of them, to try to move them as much as we can in order to find a little bit of separation horizontally in between the players, and try to play there from there. So that's the idea, and it's very easy now telling to you that to do it. It's going to be much harder on Saturday, but that's the general idea of the game.
The gaffer, Vanni Sartini there. And as you mentioned, it's Germany versus Italy on the coaching front. Sandro Schwartz is the New York Red Bulls boss. Now, Axel's going to know him very well from his Mainz days. And another Canadian connection there, Julian de Guzman is the sporting director there.
Yeah, good for him.
Yeah.
I know some people have talked about how it's kind of sad that he had to leave the country to get this kind of opportunity.
Yeah.
But at least he has got an opportunity, and hopefully this helps him grow. And this is definitely a different situation than what he had when he was a part of things with the Fury.
Yeah.
Where there was a lot of, let's say, dimensions to his role there and how things were kind of played out there. But yeah, I mean, hopefully for him, this is a positive experience and another learning experience, or another good chapter for him in his development as a football administrator, if you will.
I'm disappointed in myself. I've been so busy this week that if I'd actually got my ass into gear properly, I'd have tried to have arranged a chat with Julian Guzman for being on the show. Also, Lewis Morgan as well. I missed that as well.
You've had a lot going on.
It's been a crazy week with Whitecaps, League 1, lots of stuff. But it's a special game on Saturday for one Whitecap in particular. A homecoming for Jersey boy Brian White. And Brian is returning to New Jersey, and the club that he came through the ranks of, that we talked about, he was in the Red Bull system from 2015 to 2021. He made 25 appearances and scored 21 goals for the Red Bulls under-23s in USL 2 stroke PDL. 28 appearances and 11 goals for Red Bull 2 in the USL. And 47 appearances and 15 goals for the first team. So 48 goals and 100 overall appearances for the club. He didn't play for any of their youth teams. He came through the PDA Academy, which is another big USSDA academy, as USSDA was back then. But he's got this chance to return home, play in front of family and friends, play against his former team. But he's also got the chance to play there and make Whitecaps history by breaking the all-time scoring record for the Whitecaps in their MLS era. So, for the Caps, he's got 43 goals across all competitions from 110 games. 36 in MLS from 95 appearances and 14 assists. 2 goals and an assist in CONCACAF Champions League / Champions Cup from 6 games played. 1 goal in the League's Cup from his 3 games. And 4 goals from the 6 Canadian Championship games that he's played. I mean, when you break it down like that, he's been fantastic for the Whitecaps. And I know I joke about, how many could he have if he could take more of his chances, but it's a phenomenal record. And I mean, he had a good record through the Red Bull system as well, but he's having career years and a career period of his year. So can he write the perfect story? Can he break the Whitecaps record in his home state against his old team? And if he does, will he celebrate? Well, let's hear from Brian. So it's a homecoming game for you this weekend. First time going back to New Jersey since you left the club. How excited are you to be going back to where it all started for you? And when you look back at the Brian White that left the Red Bulls to come to Vancouver, how have you seen your game grow in those couple of years?
It's exciting. It's every time you kind of, when you leave a team, you kind of want to go back and kind of maybe prove a point, but at the same time, it'll be nice just to see some old friends, see the old stadium, play in front of friends and family. And at the end of the day, it's another 3 points on the table. So it'll be a fun experience to see all my friends and family again, and hopefully we come away with 3 points. In terms of your second question, I think I've matured a lot. I've been able to play week in, week out with a coach that trusts me, with a team that supports me, playing with Ryan. I think you get better when you play a lot of games, and have been able to play a lot. And it's been, a blessing to be able to come to Vancouver and play so much and have the success that we've had.
Now, you're on the cusp of breaking the Whitecaps' all-time scoring record in the MLS era. We know you're going to break it at some point, whether it's this weekend or whether it's after that. To do it at Red Bull Stadium would obviously mean something special for you. How much thought, if any, do you give to these kind of personal records? And if you did score against your old team, would you be celebrating?
Yeah, it's a couple people have asked me if I'm going to be celebrating. I don't know. I'll see what the moment takes me. But yeah, I mean, you try not to think about these kind of things because they kind of take you out of the rhythm. For me, it's about preparing for each game, focusing on being aggressive with the center backs, runs them behind, getting into good spots, getting shots on target, and let whatever comes after that come. So for me, it's about focusing on how I can help the team win, and that's no different this weekend.
So Brian White there, Zach, you were on the call this morning with Brian as well. Now, he's going to break the record, whether it's in this game or another one, but genuinely, we talk of Wrexham and Hollywood stories and everything. This is kind of like a fairy book story to go back to the club that you've come through and set the record for the other team there in front of family and friends. I really hope he does it, and I don't care if he celebrates or not. And if he doesn't, I get that. It's respectful. Yeah. And if he does, it's a special moment to him, I get that too. And I hope the Red Bull fans appreciate that and are respectful. But just for everything that he's done for the Whitecaps, I hope he can get it in this special game.
Yeah, I think this would be the occasion to do it, right? And if by some chance he scores 4 goals, he'll then have the Whitecaps MLS record, because I believe Camilo had 39 in the league, if my memory serves me correctly.
I think that is correct. Yes,
he's not far off that. But no, it would be a really cool thing if he did it, and great for him and great for the club. And like you said, it's like the perfect occasion. So I hope he does. And yeah, like you said, it's personal. So whatever he chooses to celebrate, to have a muted celebration, obviously he's gonna. I mean, obviously we know him, and he cares more about winning, I think, than scoring. Yeah. Yeah, I think it would be nice for him to get in with. Yeah, like he said there, this is the only or the easiest game for his family and friends to get to, right? So it'd be really cool if it could happen at the weekend.
Yeah, he's such a nice guy. Like, you can tell when he does media that he's maybe not overly comfortable, like, speaking about himself. And he is a genuine team player. It's like a cliche in sports, but he is. He's like, he doesn't want the attention. He doesn't really want to go up in front of media and stuff. And yeah, I fingers crossed he can do it. It would be tremendous for him. But if he doesn't get it on Saturday, it's going to come soon. And maybe, just maybe, it'll come again for him in the Canadian Championship. Well, the Whitecaps know what that game might be, and we're going to talk about that and your trip to see the very first Canadian Championship game of 2024 after this.
Hi, I'm Brian White, and you're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show, brought to you in partnership with recoveryfamilylaw.ca. And kicking off this part, it's former Artist of the Month, Crazy and the Brains, and I mean, this is just perfect timing. New Jersey band, new single from them drops today as we're talking about Whitecaps in New Jersey. It was meant to be. That is their new single. Very heartfelt song there from Christoph Jesus. Crazy in the Brains, Warm Sake. And you can find that on YouTube. And you can find all their other stuff on crazyinthebrains.bandcamp.com and all the other places. Fantastic band. They've dropped their xylophone sound, which I'm gutted about. The xylophone player left, so they've kind of moved in a different musical direction. But check out their early stuff in particular, including their Greatest Hits album. We had them as an Artist of the Month. I love the band. They're tremendous. Go and check them out. So the Whitecaps are in for a busy month. After New Jersey, it's the big 50th anniversary game against Austin. I'm very much looking forward to that one, Zach. It looked like I wasn't going to make it, but now I can. So that's good. But it's going to be a busy month of May.
It is.
And the Whitecaps now know who their Canadian Championship opponent is going to be. And sadly for everyone, well, unless you're in Alberta, it's not going to be the Vancouver derby that we wanted, because Vancouver FC went to play Cavalry on Tuesday night. It was a 1-0 win for the Cavs. We won't break the game down too much because I did a little bit of that in the extra podcast. Check that out. If you're a subscriber, you'll have the link. If not, $3 a month, $30 a year will get you all the AFTN extra podcasts. But yeah, 1-0 win for the Cavs. Tobias Warczewski in the 66th minute with a header. I will ask you a little bit about that goal, but it came for a 10-man Cavalry side after Schmidt Shom was sent off in the 61st minute. Now, it was a disappointing performance from VFC. It didn't feel like the team, Zach, that we'd seen in the first two league matches. Now, we'll get into your trip in a bit, but I want to just talk about the two big moments in the game. The sending off, first of all.
I think there's actually one before that. I think.
Actually, let's talk about the first half and the two big moments in the first half.
Well, yeah, there's okay.
Where Ali Musi was straight in on goal and really should have given Cavalry the lead.
What a great save by Callum Irving.
Great save by Callum. Terrible finishing by Ali Musi. But then Moses Dyer had a chance at the other end, but a great save by Marco Carducci throwing himself at the feet. That was all that really happened in the first half for me. But you've got something else?
No, I think there's a significant moment in the first half that you're forgetting, Michael, and that is the injury to Caden Chung.
Oh yes, many apologies, of course.
Yeah.
Yes, that was a game changer and a sad one. But the good news today is it doesn't seem it might be as bad for Caden as it was looking. He's flown back to get, I like how Afshin said, better hospital care.
My understanding is, and look for reports or updates on this, but that there's no broken bones.
Oh, that is good.
That's what I've heard, but
it might just be cartilage.
It's not official word, so don't quote me on that. But what I heard today was no broken bones, but maybe some contusion and potentially ligament damage or whatever. But no broken bone, which should mean the recovery should be shorter. But it was quite a bad tackle, and so much so that they talked about you could see the step marks on his
it was one of those. Again, I watched it live, thought heavy challenge, didn't think it was that bad, and then you watch the replays back and you're like, oh, that is a nasty challenge.
Yeah, but
he was in clear pain right away.
There's no VAR in this competition, though, right? So there's nothing to go back and look at it. Yeah.
No.
That was significant. It was significant for multiple reasons. I think Caden is so key for them.
Yeah.
So experienced, so helpful defensively, but also so smart in getting forward, both on the wing and being able to come inside, play a role inside, like he did so much of last year. And just the rhythm that the team was in with the 3 matches in a row, the same starting lineup. And maybe in some ways it was a good thing that they made one change to the 18 and that James Cameron was in the 18.
Yeah.
Because he was probably the perfect person to take on that role. But you could also then see that he wasn't maybe up to pace or the same fitness or same form. Form is probably better. He was in the same form as his everyone around him.
Well, I gave my thoughts on the goal in the extra podcast, which was I think David Norman was trying to head the ball out and he just didn't maybe get enough on it. And then I don't know if James Cameron was trying to just let it go out or if it was just a split moment of hesitation. But Warczewski, great anticipation.
Well, and Callie comes for it, right? Callie I think, thinks either I got to get to it or he thinks I got it. And the big German comes in the way. To me, it wasn't just there were multiple errors, or not even errors, but misplays or little imperfections. You talk about David Wood wishes his header hadn't gone like that. James maybe could have tracked better. Callie could have maybe stayed on his line. But to me, it was the sending off. It was at the sending off in the stadium. All I remember, and I asked Tommy about this in the post game, was as soon as the sending off happened, and I hope I don't get this wrong, I think it was Fry was getting treated.
Yep.
On the field, you could see Tommy called over every one of their players. Their whole team like came over, and you could see him just like giving instructions. So I asked him after, what did you say? And literally in the post match, he said, I told them this. Watch for this. We're gonna do this. They're gonna do that. But he told me
He was fantastic.
And, yeah. And so they were like just more switched on. Where the Vancouver FC players just became a little bit complacent. I don't know if it was tiredness. I don't know if it was just a sense of, okay, hey, we just need to be a little methodical here and we'll find the space. But especially in those first 5 minutes, they looked like they were almost down to the man, right? Like it was one of those cases where the team who went down the man, played above themselves and, were able to come out on top.
I think, and it's easy to say this now, but I think if Cavalry hadn't scored in that first sort of 5 minutes after the sending off, it was going to go to penalties. Because they would just have shut up shop and just gone for the 0-0 and going for penalties. Yeah,
Marco made a couple saves at the end. I mean, in the end, Vancouver had more shots on target.
Yeah.
And Marco made some really key saves, or got his hand to things, and there were some big blocks and all that kind of stuff that happens at at the end of a match as one team's just looking to level, especially a cup match that will go directly into penalties at full time, unless they change that, and I don't know.
Yeah,
but I don't think they did.
Well, you'd have got home even later than you did.
Exactly. But then the thing was, Michael, though, the whole night, the squad looked a little bit off for Vancouver FC.
Yeah.
Like they did not look themselves.
No, and it's like there's a lot of reasons you could put that down to. The travel. It was the first away game of the season. They were playing better opposition, let's be frank, than they played in the first 2 games. It was an atrocious pitch that I texted you during the game saying, this pitch is awful. And you didn't think it looked that bad in the stadium.
Yeah, yes. It
was so bare towards the kind of press box side opposite.
When we got there, we said, "Oh, are they going to water this a little bit more?" Because it looked dry. Was the concern, but then when we said it to someone, they're like, "Well, there was snow on it 5 days ago."
Yeah, they didn't have any horses on it this time, because when I was there for the Whitecaps game, they did have horses on it.
No, they didn't have horses on it. No.
They actually had horses on it whilst I was there at the Whitecaps game.
Yeah, no horses. I mean, there's like sculpted horses out of like hedges.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, well, unless they come to life, which I've seen movies. I've seen Night at the Museum. I know these things happen, but I'll tell you how bad the pitch was. Caitlin, my wife, who has no real interest in any football, came through, looked at the telly as she was sitting on the couch going, where's this getting played? That pitch looks terrible.
Well, yeah. But here's the thing with the pitch. Like, both teams have it. Tommy talked about, I think it was post-game, he talked about they had one session on it themselves, right? So he even said, like, it wasn't a huge advantage for us. Like, we're almost at the same stage as Vancouver is with the pitch, right? So I think the pitch was a fairly even metric on the evening, other than Cavs' experience over the years.
Yeah,
but there's some. And
it's the same for both sides. So I mean, maybe it's none of those things. That's why the team was off. Maybe it's a lot of balls. Yes, Ballgate. I haven't thought of a better thing than Ballgate. No. I don't like sticking gate on the end of everything, but.
So this was really interesting, right? Because this didn't come in the post game, and you could, like, I was in the front row there with a fellow AFTNer, Scott Strasser, right? And when action came in, you could tell he was upset and disappointed, and I think saddened at the loss by his facial expressions and the eye contact and sort of thing. But he wasn't, not, I wouldn't say reserved with his words, but he was, he talked about, hey, the team underperformed here and there, whatever. But then this morning, so Thursday morning, on the Matchday -1 press conference for the York game, at the end of the press conference, I asked him, I said, I think it was the last question of the whole thing. I just said to him, hey, I've heard reports that the locker room was dead silent after the game. I heard that the bus ride after was somber, no one talking. And I just sort of said, how do you harness that? And to motivate, to get the players ready to go again against York tomorrow, or whatever. And I thought he was
Yeah, well, let's play what he says.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, and then we'll delve into it. So here's what Afshin said to Zach this morning, and it was the first of any of us hearing about this.
It was reported to me that the locker room was quite silent after the cup exit, and the same with the bus ride leaving the stadium was quite a somber, silent kind of mood. Obviously, deep frustration and sadness at being knocked out of the cup. I was wondering if you mentioned it briefly, but you could talk about how do you use that? How do you harness that disappointment into getting the players ready for this match and lifting them up from that kind of the pit of despair, if you will?
Well, the culture that I think we have in the group and in the team, we want to win every game we play. We want to achieve great things with the squad. We believe we're good enough to do it. And of course, when we lose the way we lost in a very, very scrappy, very tough game, a lot of challenges, physical challenges, a lot of stoppage in the game. And I think the people that were there and experienced the game, it's very important to note that the surface didn't really give you the possibility to play the football that I think everyone wants to play. It was the first game that it was played on that pitch. I believe I heard there was snow on the pitch literally a week before the match. So, and I also don't know if people realize that the Canadian Championship, the home team can decide which ball they can use. So when we arrived in the stadium, we asked for the balls that we can use that's going to be used in a match. So we were given a Derby Stars, which is a ball that's official sponsor of CPL, and we use in CPL. So after we trained the day before the match, and I'm not trying to make excuses for our players, but I think it's for me it's very unprofessional that we're giving Derby Star balls for the game that they're going to use Nike balls the next day. Then when the training finishes, then we're told that we're going to use Nike balls for the next match. And if you've seen both balls, they're completely different. Even Nike is just a tad smaller. The feel of the ball is very different. So when you go on a pitch like that with a ball that's completely you haven't trained with, literally until just a warm up, it's a challenge, and that's why we had 33 crosses in the box. We had basically 7 corners. That's 40 entrances just from side channels that are coming into the box, and we saw so many crosses that went stray. And I think the players were very disappointed about those subtle things that affected their performance and the result of the match. And I think we have to adapt, we have to be strong, and we have to learn to deal with adversity of playing on the road. But for a professional football league and a Canadian championship that, in my opinion, has to raise its standard and on all sides, on and off the pitch, not letting the visiting team know which ball we're going to use for the match. It's unacceptable. For me, it's unacceptable. It's very unprofessional, and I'm very disappointed about it, to be honest.
Mm. I'm sorry to hear that, but thanks for sharing that insight. Appreciate it, Afshin, and all the best for the game against York.
Thank you.
So interesting stuff from Afshin Goatby there. Yeah, what's your thoughts on it before I give mine?
Oh, well, so the way he chose to answer my question made it very much seem that this is something he wanted to say and wanted to put out into the public sphere.
He's very good at that. I like that he does that.
Yeah. So I think that's I've reached out to the people within the CSA who I know and asked them for clarification on this, right? And they've confirmed, yes, the home team has choice of match ball. Like that's normal.
Which makes sense, yeah. Because you're playing in 3 different leagues that's going to have 3 different
exactly
suppliers.
And the tournament itself doesn't have a sponsorship or whatever.
This was the thing that amazed me, that there isn't an actual match ball for the Canadian Championship that every team uses.
Yeah, but you follow this competition over the years, Michael. You know that sponsorship is not a big thing for this tournament. Like they've never made a lot of money with this, right? I mean, you think I'm not going to name them, but some of the sponsors from the past, right? And none of them have anything to do with football. Yeah. And so I know some people also automatically assume, oh yeah, because the national teams, they're not sponsored by, but their equipment and jersey supplier is Nike. They assume that there's some kind of, deal there, but there is not. The Nike deal has nothing to do with this competition. It's to supply those teams. And as I think it said someone who tweeted at you or whatever, the Nike deal also has nothing to do with the CSB deal, right? The Nike deal is totally separate from that. That's why it's kind of frustrating that the CSA chose to take Nike over the options where they would actually make actual money.
But it's also frustrating when you just see all the Macron kits across Canada in League One and CPL and how gorgeous they are and what we could have had.
Yeah, that's a side topic. Yeah. But no, so yeah, he wanted this info out there, and so he goes on to, as you heard there, he just says like, look, we were told the day before the game that the Derby Star would be the ball used, which is the CPL match ball, which they've been using, which Cavalry uses and has been using this year in the league. So that's obviously what they trained with. And they showed up on the match day and said, oh yeah, no, by the way, we're using this Nike ball. And he said there, it's almost a different shape. It's a very different feel. I've seen people who've commented online about it saying, yeah, if it's this new Nike ball with the ridges, it's very different. And to be honest, I didn't think about anything at the time, but as he starts quoting, like, look, we had 33 crosses, we had 7 corners, and many of them were wayward. Many of them were off our players' normal ability. I started thinking about moments in the match, and I'm like, oh yeah, I do remember a whole bunch of crosses that were just not right. And you thought, is that form? Is it like you said? Is it the travel? Is it the
I was blaming the pitch. I just thought it was the pitch.
But so the ball played a role.
Yeah.
Now, but there's also other. I'll let you say what you think.
Well, I was going to say, a lot of folk are just going to go always just making excuses, and anything you say like that is going to sound like an excuse. And when you first told me this morning, I was like, oh, I need to hear this, because I didn't go on the call because the call was before 10 o'clock and I don't like getting up before 10 o'clock. But I listened to it. I downloaded the press conference and listened to it all. And he's got very valid points. I agree with him that it is totally unacceptable for a team to be told one thing, to then be given balls to train with, and then find out afterwards, no, it's a whole different thing. That, I don't know if you put all the blame on Cavalry or whatever, or if they were trying some kind of shenanigans, or if it was a misunderstanding. So I'll give them the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
But no matter what, that's totally unacceptable. And I don't see how you can have that.
Yeah, because this is professional football. Like, this is not like your Sunday league team or whatever, like this is like the highest level of football in our country. Like, this is our country's like, domestic cup, right? Like, you can't there needs to be some standards. And so I'm trying to find out the rules and regulations for this, and we'll see if people within Canada Soccer are able and willing to share that information, because it would be good to know. And then it would also be good to hear Cavalry side of this as well, as to what happened. In terms, you just said given.
Well, I hope to speak to Toomy before the Whitecaps game, so I will throw that in to the questions.
I'm sure he'll be thrilled about that. But the ball thing, right? When they were told Derby Star, they have Derby Stars, right? So they wouldn't have had to have been given any. They had their own, right?
Yeah. But I don't know. Would they have brought all? I guess you do bring kit with you because you still have to train.
Well, plus also they're playing in York, so they were going from Calgary to York, so they had all their stuff. But the other thing, which the one perspective I read on, which I think was kind of interesting, which ties into partly with what you're saying, was from our friend Brenton Walters said, and I don't think this is fully the case. This may be partially the case, but I know Afshin, and I literally his comment, he called it unprofessional, which you and I know well is something he's spoken about before, about the lack of professionalism in the game.
And he's got a very, very good argument in those as well.
Exactly. So I think he was in part just being serious and just saying, hey, I think this put us at a disadvantage. Yeah. And the way it was done was unprofessional. But the thing one of the things that Brenton said was he felt like, is this a case of a coach trying to take the blame off of his players for the loss and put it
Yeah.
on him or his comments about it and whatever. Kind of like a Jose Mourinho has done lots in the past. You know what I mean? Where
I
he'll
don't
say
know that that's Afshin's style, though. He's kind of like a call a spade kind of guy.
exactly. So that's what I said to Brent. I said you might be partially right, but I really think Afshin is just speaking his truth here and saying this is how I feel about this situation, how I feel it was handled, and how it happened, and whatever.
It shouldn't happen like that.
No.
Should because doesn't matter who's playing.
Yeah.
It's like that should not happen. And like you know, I'm involved with TSS. If TSS were hosting a game and they did that on purpose to the team they were playing, I'd be like, no, that's not on.
Totally. Lots
Because
of people.
it does make a difference. The balls do make a difference.
Totally.
It's like I tried to get more details from the best ball handler I know, but Caitlin's asleep just now. So we'll just have to take it that they do make a difference.
Oh my goodness. There's lots of comments online. They're like, oh, sore losers or excuse FC or
Yeah, I mean, I knew that was going to come.
Of course, that's going to come. But here's the thing, right? Like these are professionals. This is their job, right? If you showed up your work and your work is all max, and all of a sudden they gave you, PCs and said, yeah, go and do the same thing you do every day and like whatever, it would affect you, right? Like
It'd affect me in reverse. I've never used a Mac in my life.
oh, there you go. There exactly.
Well, apart from the ones that hang around in the parks wearing, but that's a whole other story.
I don't know what that means.
No, let's just move.
I'm not going to ask. I'm not gonna But anyways, yeah, it was kind of, and like, yeah, I assume that at the bottom of this is some kind of misunderstanding or some kind of.
I hope so.
The wrong person said or a person gave the wrong information or whatever. I'm assuming that's what's going to come out. But I do also appreciate your spin on it on Twitter, where you're like, Whitecaps, watch out for Cavalry shenanigans in the next round.
Well, like genuinely though, they should be prepared. They need to prepare with both these just in case.
Yeah, because they don't use either of those type of balls.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's the example, right? TFC plays Simcoe in the next night, and they're using the Adidas MLS ball.
Yeah.
In the game, right? So,
I mean, just to quickly touch on that, I felt for Simcoe because they really tried to go toe to toe with TFC.
Mm-hmm.
And that maybe wasn't the best thing to do because they fell apart a bit in the first half, but they had a couple of good chances in the first half.
Yeah,
I thought they played tremendously.
Yeah, that's the kind of game where you don't look at the scoreline. You look at the performances,
Yeah.
you look at the occasion for the players and their families, and their amazing traveling support.
Oh, 2000. That was a joy to see, and it shows the appetite for local derbies, for having these teams at that level in this tournament.
Yeah.
And folk will point to the score and go, well, what's the point of that? John Herdman afterwards said he was disappointed they hadn't beat their all-time scoring record, which I thought was a little bit disrespectful.
That felt like a little... when I saw that, I was like, is this John's sort of first Croatia moment with TFC? Because it was like, again, there's nothing wrong with him saying that to the players.
No,
why would
he's
you?
clearly pissed off that they only came away with 5. Like genuinely pissed off that they didn't play better.
But why? But why would you say that? Why would you denigrate this type of opponent? That I don't know. I felt this a little bit off. I didn't hear him say it. I just read the comments on.
Yeah, same. But yeah, I thought it was a little bit off as well. But I thought Simcoe were fantastic and another great League One club, and like they do so much well at Simcoe, and they've built so much, and they've got all the former players and some current players like Daniil Henry that are owners into it, and Kyle Lahr and Atiba Hutchinson. It's a great story, and of course we'll have another great story hopefully next week when TSS beat Pacific. Last thing we'll talk about with the Cavalry VFC game. How was your trip? Because you left on Tuesday. And there was only 4 of you in the car. I was worried there was going to be 5 and it was going to be very cramped for you. No. Your pictures made it look like a beautiful day, a beautiful drive.
Yeah, I haven't posted any stuff. I know we did from the Fanatics account or whatever. But yeah, it was great. It honestly, Michael, it was a little bit obviously longer, but reminiscent of back in the day when I used to, because of work, I would jump in a car, maybe often by myself, but sometimes with other people. Drive down to Portland, get out of the car, rush into the stadium, go to a game. The game would end, maybe grab food, get in the car, and drive back
Yeah.
immediately because of work. But anyway, that's exactly what it was. I was like up until like 4:30 in the morning doing work, like sending out, timed emails for work.
Uh,
And then yeah, up until about 4:30, and then they arrived at 5. And Gail and Andrew arrived at 5. Jumped in the car, went to pick up Sean because he parked at the airport because he was actually flying back, and then started driving, and I just passed out. Now Andrew drove the whole way there, which is crazy. Stopped about 2 or 3 times, once for gas and once to stretch legs or whatever. So I woke up those times, stretched my legs, got back in the car, passed out. We arrived in Calgary. Yeah, like I don't know. We left around 5 and we got there at like was it like 3 or something their time.
Oh, that's
And-
not bad.
No, it was early. We went and had dinner, nice relaxed dinner. It was good times, and then we went to
Because Spruce Meadows is in the middle of nowhere.
yeah. We weren't that far from the middle of nowhere. We found a place that we wanted to eat, and so
Okay.
yeah, we went to the stadium. We missed the bus. We wanted to meet the bus. We missed the bus, but that whatever. And then got into the stadium like almost at opening. Met up with Dave Smith was there with his son, which was awesome. Met up with some stewards. I had a nice chat with Mr. Trafford, who
Charlie
not
or Mason?
Mason, right? I always mess up. Charlie's still playing. Right?
You told me Charlie, and then I saw
Yeah,
he
I
was
was like,
playing. I was like,
That's like,
why is he talking to
no,
you before he's going down
no.
that pitch?
It was Mason. Sorry, Mason, who we watched all those years back in the
Yeah,
day.
I remember.
So I got to talk to him for a few minutes. It was really great. He's living the dream, and
Is Charlie's the younger one?
yeah, I think Charlie's
Yeah.
younger.
So you spoke to Old Trafford.
Oh, easy there, Tiger. Wait, didn't we call him that? Was that one of his?
I don't know.
I can't remember. Anyways, he's a great dude and doing really well for Cavs. And we got to hear a little bit about that. It was really, just really good to see him. And then your buddy, or not your buddy, the guy you know there, Seb's dad joined us for the second half too. Number 44, the big striker.
Oh, Seb Jakowski.
Yeah, so his dad joined us. We actually
Nice.
hardly because Sean was staying. Taking his spot in the van was Seb's golf clubs. So we brought Seb's golf clubs back. Apparently him and Caden Chung are going to have some golf matches together.
Oh, cool. We're going to
good.
speak to Sebastian in a future show
Yeah.
as well. I really, really hope he can get a little bit of a look at some point this season.
So yeah, it was a wonderful time. It was my first actual game.
I was thinking that because I know you'd been to Spruce Meadows, and I wondered if that was your very first match. So it was your actual first match there. I love it as a venue. I think it's a tremendous setup, a tremendous little ground.
It would be lovely if they could say, "Hey, we're not going to horse jump here anymore," and put a second stand on the one side. But there's the officers' club there, the VIP, which is very far from
Yeah, the
pitch.
officers' club's very unique looking.
Yeah, it's ominous and whatever. And then that's the press area. So that was cool to go in there and be a part of that and connect with people from the CSA there. And yeah, it was good. And then we just literally got, as soon as I was done with the press conference, left, jumped in the car, and we drove back. We stopped in Salmon Arm. So I drove like 5 hours or so, stopped in Salmon Arm, slept for a couple hours. We all slept for a couple of hours. They were already sleeping, but I was starting to fall asleep. So we slept. And then I think we pulled up in front of my house around 9 a.m. So it was like what is that? 28-hour trip.
Yeah.
It was sweet. I would do it. And it was so cheap. Like cheaper than flying, cheaper than anything. Match tickets were cheaper for this game, I think, than normal. Because I think it was like by donation or something. So we gave Cavalry nothing. No, I'm joking. We didn't give Cavalry nothing. But no, like gas wise, it was quite reasonable.
Well, gas is like the only time I've been to Alberta was in 2019 when the Whitecaps played the first game there. And driving into Alberta and seeing the gas prices change, it's like, my.
Yeah, that's helpful. That's really helpful. But like, yeah, like I'm already so. The crazy thing is, Andrew and I Andrew, Adrian, and are flying to the game next week. So we're flying out in the morning, flying back after the game. But the game is September. I'm already like, okay, we need to get a few vehicles to drive out because like it's a Saturday afternoon. We could drive on Friday, drive home. I mean, I got to be working Sunday morning, so we drive back after the game. But it was a great experience, and I would totally do it again.
Well, sadly, the result didn't go the way that we wanted. So it's not Whitecaps VFC in the next round in the quarterfinals. It's going to be Cavalry Whitecaps. 2 Tuesdays, May 7th, May 21st. I am thinking of going to the May 7th game, but flying.
Yeah.
Now, I priced it out immediately after the game, and then I thought I might drive and have a few days. And then I got the League 1 schedule through, and it's like, I'm commentating on the 8th.
Yeah.
So I'm still thinking about possibly I can fly out of Abbotsford and fly back the same day. It's like 11:30 or 11:45 is the last flight, WestJet flight.
Yeah.
The only thing I don't know is, can I make it from the stadium after the post game to the airport in time?
Yeah.
I can get an Uber, which is like $55, and it would get me there in time for my flight. But obviously, it's quite pricey. Or I could get an Uber to the light rail and then try and get the rail to the airport. But it's whether I get there in time or not.
See, I think our flight's at like 11:30 that night, and so this week at the game, Harley's like, "Oh, you can totally go to the press conference after the game," because we're actually renting a car when we fly out, just so that we can go to and fro easy. And
if you've got a car, you could definitely do that, drop it off, and you'd be there in time. That's why the Uber would work. But I'm trying to do it as cheap as possible. The flight, if they were playing it on the Wednesday, I'd found a flight that was 152 return.
Yeah, that's what we paid. Something like
nuts.
that. I think ours was like 160 or something.
It was 238, I think, or 232 when I looked right after the game. So I haven't looked since. So I might not do it, but I'd like to get back out there again.
So yeah, Whitecaps fans, if you want to drive it, you got 28 hours or less. You can do it.
I'd stay over. I like my bed too much. Stay in Bant for Golden or something, but
you can do that too.
Yeah, should be a cracker. But let's hear some thoughts from the 2 coaches, Toomy Wheeldon Jr. and Vanni Sartini, on the upcoming Whitecaps Cavalry 3.
The opportunity to play an MLS team again, and the fact that it's Whitecaps must make it special for you, having played them 2 years previously.
Yeah, they knocked us out on penalties a couple of years ago, but they're a team that are red hot right now. You know, I've enjoyed watching some of their games. I mean, I think Vanni and his staff are doing a good job with them, and we're playing them in good form. So we've got to improve what we do. I know it's coming up here pretty soon, so I think we'll put this game to bed. But we're excited about the opportunity to play them again.
You also learned this week that you're going to be playing Cavalry in the Canadian Championship, 2-legged match coming up next month. What's your thoughts on that game and another chance to battle? The third time you're going to be battling against Cavalry. The club's won 1, lost 1, so a rubber match coming up.
Yeah. Well, gotta be honest, I really wanted Vancouver to win for logistical thing. So, and also to have the derby for the first time. We haven't had it yet to play against BFC. So, Cavalry, it's gonna be very hard because it's always a battle there. It's always like, and the way that intense football is very tough and very let's go for a fight. So you've been generous telling that we won one. To be honest, we never beat them because even when we won in penalty, so it was a tie. So I think it's a good reminder that it's not because we won the trophy twice and we are an MLS team and they're a CPL team that we can go there thinking that it's going to be easy, because it's not going to be easy. I think the 2-leg in a certain way help us a little bit, because play the team with more quality probably in the 2 legs a little bit more advantage than in 1 leg. But especially in Calgary, it's going to be really, really, really hard, and we'll have to be perfect, I would say, especially defensively, because again, it's going to be about the long balls, tackles every time. They're very hard on, so it's gonna be really hard.
The gaffers there talking about the Caps Cavalry games coming up next month. We'll have a lot more of that in the build-up. Just one final thing to talk about Whitecaps wise, just to round off this part. There's a new Aussie in town. Aussie, Aussie, Aussie.
Oi, oi, oi.
Yes. Now, he comes from a land down under. Cavalry will be missing their big talismanic down under figure of Meyer Bevan for the season. But we'll have our Aussie, although I don't know if he's going to be good to go for this game. He's flying in this week and then he's going to go through all the medicals and be on the training pitch for the Whitecaps. Next week, 19-year-old Giuseppe Bovalina joining from Adelaide United on a contract through to the end of 2026 with club options for 2027 and 2028. Now,
just to be clear, Bevan is a Kiwi, not a Aussie, right?
yeah, that's why I said down under.
Okay.
I didn't say Aussie.
Can you say down under for the Kiwis? I thought
Yeah,
you can.
well, I do, yeah.
I don't think you're supposed to.
Well, they're all down under.
I think the Kiwis don't like being referred to as that.
I've never seen that on all my New Zealand shows.
If you're a Kiwi
Let's
and you're
ask
listening to
Moses
this,
Dyer.
oh yeah, Moses Dyer, yeah. But if you're a Kiwi and listening to this, tell Michael.
Tell us, is down under offensive to you?
I think I Googled it one time because we were talking about Moses and it was like, don't call.
Oh, so don't sing he comes from a land down under.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Well, anyway.
But Giuseppe,
who that good Australian name,
Yeah.
Giuseppe Bovalina. He can play right back or right wing back. He's made 21 appearances in the A-League this season, 16 of them starts, scoring 1 goal and 2 assists. 23 appearances for Adelaide altogether in his time there across all competitions, 18 of those being starts. And the name kind of rings a bell for me from watching the A-League games.
I was going to say, how much have you seen this dude?
I've seen Adelaide games. I've seen him play. I'll be honest, he hasn't stood out that I'm thinking, oh, that guy. But Adelaide United is not a team that I've watched a lot of because I more watch Wellington because that's the team I follow. And I like
they're Kiwis.
Yeah. And I like the Melbourne derbies. I like watching those because there's a lot of animosity in those games. So that's the ones I haven't seen tons of Adelaide games. But delving into his stats, 80.7% pass success, 34% successes with his long passes, 17 key passes, 26 interceptions. I don't know if he can take too much from that. It's how he factors into a new life in a new league. Mm-hmm. But he originally came through Adelaide United's youth academy, and he signed his first pro contract last September after making his first team debut in Adelaide's Australia Cup clash with Norcote City. Now, I remember watching that last August because it was like a second-tier team against the A-League teams. So I was watching all those games. Now, he's also been capped at international level for Australia under 23, but it's just the one cap. So I saw a lot of folks saying, oh, he's obviously really good because he's on the fringes of the Australian squad. And I thought they meant the main Australian squad, but it's the under 23 squad. And I'm not downplaying that too much. He is only 19 and playing in under 23, but I think he's a project. It's an open book. I don't know what to expect. We'll get into that in a sec. Let's hear what Axel Schuster thought about the addition of Giuseppe Bovalina.
We have put a lot of thoughts into what does this squad really need. What also do we need for other moments in the season? Very likely, I would say almost guaranteed, and hopefully the only thing that could get in between that would be an injury, and I don't hope that happens. Both of our starting wingbacks, will be gone with the Canadian national team for a handful of games during the Copa. So we always were looking for the right profile that can help at that time. And he was on our radar since a long time because we think that he has all the potential. He has all the skills. He is actually a Whitecaps player, the way he plays, with strengths on both ends of the pitch, with his speed, with his dribblings, but also with his work rate against the ball. So said that, but he is obviously a little bit. It's still young of ages and hasn't played on an MLS level yet. So we were very convinced that he would be exactly the right fit for us in not tomorrow, but in midterm and long term. And so we have pushed for getting him because we want him now to make him ready for the time of the Copa and having him as another alternative in our roster. And then obviously giving him the time to grow even more and becoming a regular starter at a later time when he has settled in and has adapted to the level of the league. But he gives Vanni and us another option for the time where we will miss a few players. And who knows, if maybe the transition goes quicker and faster and he will be the starter already at that time. But even if not, this is a very demanding position and you need players on the bench that you can sub in, that can play 30 minutes. So he will get a lot of playing time also. We see that already coming, and we are very excited that we got him because there was some other interest from clubs in Europe, not directly for their first team. And we had also to discuss with him what his career path could look like and why we are the better choice, because he can already and straight be with our first team. And so I think if everything plays out the way we have discussed with him, and also he is coming with the right patience, he will be a player that will make a lot of fun for us and our fans.
Thank you, Axel. I mean, another question. I mean, you guys, as a club, as a scouting team, you have a different mentality than other MLS teams. You've scouted a lot of players, different players that are not the normal MLS players like from South America or from Europe, but you've also looked in the Asian side of it. Someone like Ali Adnan before from Iraq, Ali Ghazal from Egypt. What's your scouting mentality, or what's your scouting strategy looking for a player?
Oh, I think this is a question for an hour-long call. I would say our scouting strategy is to be very patient, to use our very strong data science department to pre-filter profiles across the world, and I would say in general, if you say we are different, I don't know if we are different to every club, but obviously we are doing it in our own way. We want to get players who see our team and our league as the right next step and not just as one option that maybe pays them a good dollar, or that is maybe an exit from a situation that is not good. We really want to have players that come here and are hungry, that are desperate to grow and have respect for MLS and the league. And also, I can tell you in our scouting calls, on our acquisition calls with those players, we have also a presentation to those players where we exactly lay out what we see for them, how the next 12 months will look like. And we are very clear to players like him, for example, that he's not coming here and we expect from him that he is right away a starter. And we ask him if he's okay with that. And if he is okay with working his way up and maybe not seeing the pitch right away. So to have the right expectations on all sides. And then if a player completely buys in and says, look, I get what you're planning with me. I understand it. And no one is telling him that he cannot be faster than the plan that we have foresee for him. Then I think there's a higher chance that such a move becomes successful.
So Axel there on new Whitecaps signing Guiseppe Bovalina, Zach, primarily a depth piece, and in particular, looking to possibly fill a void that might be there if Sam and Ali are away with Canada at Copa America.
This seems like a really good piece of business by the Whitecaps, by Axel. I think, we'll see how it plays out, but it seems wise.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like they are being proactive, which is great. And so I think this is even if this turns out to be a miss, I think it's a good move in the here and now, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's worth having a look. Axel said he's been on their radar for a while, and he feels he basically plays the Whitecaps style already, so it's going to be an easy integration into the team. But he did note that he hasn't played at MLS level yet, because the A-League is a step below MLS. Now, I think it's on a par with CPL, but the top teams are probably a bit higher than the CPL teams. But the other teams, I think, are CPL level, which I think is why you see a lot of the players from that league coming into the CPL.
Maybe the two leagues should have like a Leagues Cup.
Oh, that would be fun. Then we can have League One and the NPL in New Zealand having a Leagues Cup. And then Moses Dyer can say how sad I am and bored for watching his country's national league.
I'm just joking, right?
No. I'm going to pitch that idea.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm all for Leagues Cup.
Oh
my cuppeth runneth over. The more cups, the better. 2 girls, 1 cup. Throw them all in there. But Axel says Bovalina, he's got good two-way play. He's got speed. He's got strength. But don't expect him to be a regular starter till maybe later in the year, unless he shows well earlier. But he has important depth. There was interest from elsewhere, and this was the bit I liked. Axel spoke about they sat down, and it was interesting hearing him just talking about the scouting strategy in general and targeting areas like the Asian and Australia markets and maybe other MLS clubs aren't. But the Whitecaps are looking for players that are hungry and desperate to grow, to take that jump to the higher level, but also respect MLS. And it was interesting to me that Axel talked about how he sits down with players like Bovalina. They fully explain what the next 12 months are going to look like for that player at the Whitecaps. They tell them, look, you're not going to be a first-team starter, or you're not going to be a starter right away. And if the player buys into that, great, they're on board, you bring them in. And if not, then it's better for all parties that they don't come here. And I really like hearing him explain that.
Yeah, I have quite a bit of time for Axel Schuster. And one day I look forward to asking him some questions, or having you ask him some questions along the lines about the progress that he's overseen the Whitecaps through in his era here. But yeah, and this is, I think, another example, just how he's going about recruiting. I think that's really, really key.
And you'll see that with the players that's at WFC too just now. You're going to know they've all had this conversation. They've all bought into the pathway. Some of them won't make it. They won't make it to the first team. That's football. But I like that the players are like saying, yep, I like this. I'm prepared to do that. I'm prepared to put the work in. So let's see what we've got with Bovalina. Obviously, we'll have a chat with him when he comes over. I'll talk to him about, have you been paying attention in the Cheap Seats, my 2 favourite Australian comedy shows? And yeah, lots of stuff about that. But that is it for the Whitecaps chat for this show. We're going to turn our attention to League 1 BC next, because the season gets underway this weekend, and we're going to bring you our feature interview for this episode. And we'll be back with that after this episode's song from our album of the month.
Hi, I'm Tommy Wheeldon Jr., and you are listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
I got a burning heart that keeps me moving, keeps me looking for life. I got nothing but a memory of losing, brow that needs soothing so much. Yes, and all my heroes are either gone, dead, or forgotten. So much left undone, so much. And when I think about it, where were you when the fences needed mending? You were just pretending. Yes, you were. looking at the day go round again.
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show, brought to you in partnership with recoveryfamilylaw.ca. And kicking off this part, it's another song from our album of the month here at AFTN for April from 1989. English band Diesel Park West from their debut album Shakespeare, Alabama, and that was track 8, Here I Stand. And here we stand, on the cusp of a new League 1 BC season. The action kicking off this weekend with 3 matches getting played on Sunday. We'll come to those very shortly. But we're going to bring you this episode's feature interview first. And it's with the head coach of the new boys in town, Burnaby FC, the new club that has joined League 1 BC for the 2024 season. Burnaby FC, an amalgamation of 5 local youth soccer clubs in Burnaby. The clubs all passed a resolution in December 2022 to merge and basically form a super club in Burnaby. It was the amalgamation of Mountain United, Cliff Avenue United, Westburn, Burnaby Girls and Burnaby District Metro Soccer. And together they have formed a powerhouse in the local soccer scene in the BC SPL. The next stage to their development pathway was to have an adults team on the men and women's side in League 1. They applied for the vacant spot that was available for the 2024 season after Nottsmalt FC folded last year. And the action for them gets underway this Sunday. A lot of hard work has been going on behind the scenes in the last few months to get the team ready for their inaugural campaign. The women's team will be led by Jonas Worth, a Canada Soccer A licensed coach with over 20 years of experience coaching in university and professional soccer. He's coached in NCAA, U Sports, CCAA, and in the USL Women's League. His assistant on the women's side is Kat Tomic, who is currently the senior staff coach for the girls under 14 to under 18s at Burnaby FC. On the men's side, assisted by Joe Zuppo, who's a lot of experience in League 1 with Varsity and Nottsmalt, is a man that will be known to many for his time as assistant coach at FC Edmonton, Todd May. Todd is a UEFA B licensed coach. He's currently working on getting his UEFA A licence. And he coached the Burnaby FC under-17 boys to the 2023 National Championship. He's played in the NCAA, he's played in the USL PDL, and he's also had some time over at Brighton and Hove Albion in England, where he's one of the Centre of Excellent players. Spent a little bit of time as assistant coach at Simon Fraser University, and then with Alan Koch at FC Edmonton as the assistant there in a very tumultuous year. Todd was appointed head coach in February this year of the new Burnaby FC League 1 side, and delighted to get a chance to catch up with him a couple of weeks ago just to chat about the journey to this stage, what he's learned in his coaching career so far, and to look ahead to the League 1 BC season. So go stick the kettle on, grab your biscuit of choice, sit back and enjoy our feature interview this episode with Burnaby FC men's head coach, Todd May. So delighted now to be joined on the show by the man in charge of the new League 1 BC men's team, Burnaby FC, for the upcoming League 1 season. Welcome to the show, Todd. You've been on once before when Zach chatted to you over in Edmonton, but this is your first time officially being on the show.
Yes, thank you very much for having me this morning. It was a couple of years ago when I was with FC Edmonton and CPL, so it's glad to continue the tradition of chatting with AFTN.
Yeah, I mean, let's start off about talking about that. I was going to get to that in a bit, but since I've mentioned it right off the bat, I mean, that to get that job as assistant in the CPL, a great job for you personally, but to come into a club that was in such a mess off the pitch, and I've known Alan for many, many years, and I've chatted to him about stuff, and I mean, that must just have been a baptism of fire for you as an assistant coach in the CPL.
Very much so. I mean, we were definitely thrown in the deep end of things at the beginning of the season, where we were placed under such restrictions and limitations that it really was a sink or swim situation. But for me personally, it was such an opportunity to learn and develop under someone who has a lot of experience. I always say it was kind of like getting 2 or 3 seasons worth of experience in that 1 year, because we had to cover so many different obstacles throughout that season.
By the end of that, how do you feel you had grown as a coach?
Good question. I think there was definitely many more roles that I wasn't anticipating, just based on our limitations with registrations, with the league kind of role and the expectations that we had, how we were expected to recruit based on a very, very limited budget. You know, we kind of have to find a way to get more out of our resources than what we're necessarily supposed to, I think. So in terms of being in that environment, I learned how to be a little bit more professional, and what the expectation was of an assistant under somebody who had worked in the MLS. And there was a standard that we had set in training that I have now taken over into my own environment. Now I'm a head coach with Burnaby FC for the present under 18s and under 17s, and now League One as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a great grounding for you. And if we look ahead now to this new season, new club in the league, obviously with that comes teething problems, and a lot of the logistical side we can't chat about because that's not your thing that you're in charge of. But the league's now 3 years old, so you've had a chance to have a look at it in the first 2 years, so at least you know what to expect from a playing side of it. What are you most looking forward to for this first season?
I think we've got such a good group of boys, good characters, that I want to set a standard within the club, within the league, of professionalism, with behavior, with like the culture of a group, so that it continues beyond this first year. You know, I'm quietly confident about our expectations, but I want to have a standard where everybody understands the kind of football that we're going to play at Burnaby FC, and also what kind of player and personality that we're looking to bring into the club as well. That's one of the things that I've kind of taken on myself and said, this is the way that I want to move the club forward.
You're saying you're quietly optimistic about this season. I'm more so, and this will probably piss off a few of the other coaches listening, but I've got yourselves, TSS and Whitecaps as the three standout teams, just from the squads and looking at stuff like that. Obviously, as the new boys, you maybe don't have as much pressure on you as the other two teams that's won the first two championships. So you've maybe got a little bit of the underdog, no one knows what to expect. But looking at the players that you've added, I just want to chat about a few of them. You've got a big core from SFU. Obviously, they had a fantastic season in NCAA last year. Looking at the guys that you've brought in, you've immediately got that chemistry, which is obviously a huge thing for you.
Yeah, I think we are confident, but as you said, we are also the underdogs of the group. Together, we haven't played in this league, so there are players from different contingents of clubs and schools that are now coming together to make just the one team. I think maybe where the other two clubs have a bigger advantage is that they've already played together for either a good chunk of time, or they've played together in the league. For example, the Whitecaps, they've been training together. They kind of understand the team chemistry, the cohesion, the tactical side of things too, whereas we are just coming together completely fresh. So I don't believe that we'll be able to initially compete maybe, with the front runners, but we have very, very good quality in terms of our players and our recruitment. We have good competition within the squad as well. So, anything can happen throughout the season, and I'd be happy to be thrown into the conversation with the other two, definitely.
Yeah, and like on the defensive side of things, you've
Mhm.
added experience there because you've brought in Daniel Kaiser, who I've known for a number of years from his time up at UBC, and he's a great character on and off the pitch. Joe Zupo as your assistant, is the plan for him to be player coach like he was with Varsity and not somewhat before?
That's correct. Yeah. So Joe brings in a lot of experience, both in League One and also in his playing career, and he also understands the dynamic of the players that we're bringing in. He has previous existing connections with through UBC, so he's going to be a great leader for us. And same with Daniel Kaiser. Like both of them are good people, and those were the one of the main things that I was looking for this year in terms of bringing in the players. I wanted good people to begin with. I know lots of them have talent. I know there's lots of talent in the area, but the character was very, very important for me. I want a group that's ready to compete, to trust each other, to support each other. And again, like just referring to what I said in the previous question, having a group that can set the standard from day one. That's really, really important for this year. If we can have that standard set from day one, the nonsense doesn't creep in later on throughout the season, and it doesn't come in season 2 as well.
And you've added as well a couple of guys that's had experience with Whitecaps Academy, with Whitecaps in League One as well. But up front, Emiliano Brienza, again, I've watched Emmy for years, come through the Whitecaps Academy, Whitecaps 2, he's just coming off Golden Boot winning season in VMSL. Having that experience as well, but also having a guy that's on such good form as well is going to obviously help.
Absolutely. He's one of many in the group that have a lot of quality in various areas of the pitch. We talked about experience. Now we've talked about quality and adding goals. We have a really, really good foundation, a good baseline for what we're working with. And then we've kind of got it up the top end as well with Emiliano. I fully expected him to, step on in the same way that he finished the previous season in the VMSL. He has a lot of quality, a lot of intelligence. He can find pockets really well. He's got a cultured left foot.
Yeah.
He's a great player for us. And, part of my job is also to help players move on. That's a measure of my success as well, if I can help them move on. And there's definitely a few in this group that I can see, including Emmy, that could potentially move on after this year.
Yeah, I like you've had a few that's been on the cusp as well, like Brandon Torreson had been a draft pick with Pacific before, and obviously they've played together with Columbus as well. And you've kind of cornered the market with the Torreson brothers as well. You seem to just bring them all into the club. So I mean, you've got that chemistry and that understanding. You've got the SFU chemistry and understanding. So although it is a new club and you may not have played together, that will help.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we've got another one, Nick Apostle, who's played CPR minutes as well. So we do have experience. Like I said, he's another good leader, player that's come through Whitecaps. There's a ton of experience in this group that will help mold the younger ones, help show them kind of what professionalism looks like. And it's also an extension of, the coaching staff, including myself. As a leader of this team, I need to find leaders that can also guide the group as well. It's not just, our staff responsibility. And there's definitely a few boys within that group that could step up into that position. And again, it was part of the recruitment process, what I was looking for.
Yeah, I remember speaking to Nick after he made his WFC2 debut, and the Whitecaps were so high on him, but he's been there's been so many players that once they go to college, it's like the Whitecaps kind of move on a little bit for them. So this league is such a great chance for these guys to take the step forward into the CPL or wherever. And of course, it was just officially announced this week, although there was some murmurs for a while, that you're going to be the partner club for Vancouver FC this season, which will help on the recruitment side, I'm sure, going forward. But also, it's great to know that you're going to have the eyes of the local CPL club, particularly on your boys. Obviously, they'll be watching the whole league, but it gives a little boost to all your squad.
Yeah, absolutely. We're a team that wants to have eyes on our group. We're happy to release those players if it helps those careers. If Vancouver FC are on our doorstep, watching our boys, maybe coming to training sessions, watching the games, etc. It's a two-way relationship where, we can help put our boys into a position to have success. We want them to move on to CPL should they be good enough. So yeah, having that relationship is a fantastic opportunity for the boys coming into this group. We want them to move on, and obviously if Vancouver FC are interested in any of them, then they're more than welcome to express their interest, and that's the benefit of having that relationship for this season.
One of the guys, Joey Buchanan, who had signed the contract already with Vancouver FC and will be playing with you this year, not a player I've heard the name or known much about. What can you tell us about him? I know he's come through your youth system.
Correct, yeah. So he's been with Burnaby FC for a number of years, I think since intake or so he's been there for a while. He understands the kind of culture of the club. He's a 2007, so he's still in grade 11. He's a young boy, but he's matured very well. He's been part of the 2006 group for a number of years already as well. He was part of the group that won national championships with me in October, and his development is in line with the rest of the group. He's been a fantastic player for us in last phase and for this phase, and Vancouver FC saw something in him that they liked. And I'm very happy for him to move on. I said to the group, if the opportunity comes, I will push you in that direction. Again, it's a marker of my success, the players that I can move on. It's something that I pride myself in and I'd like to have more of. So, Joey was a player that came onto their radar in January after I had a couple of conversations with people, and he's a top kid. He's a good kid. He's going to be primarily with the 06 group still to finish out the phase, but he's going to be definitely someone who can permit into this group because he has the quality. He is good enough. And that was another thing that, we can benefit from, having younger guys get the experience, either training in that League One environment, or they get the merit to permit up to the League One team. And it's always based on merit. So if you're good enough and you should be there, you will be there.
Yeah, and Vancouver FC have shown with the young guys they brought through last year, and some have already moved on or they've had trials. It's a great environment to be in. Just last couple of things, just talk about Burnaby FC. So for anyone that isn't aware, it was a merger of 3 local Burnaby-based youth clubs. And it's often referred to by others in local soccer as a super club. But I think there's probably an element of jealousy about just the base that you're taking. But talk about, because obviously you were involved with that at the time, talk a little bit about how it came to being, why you felt League One was the important pathway then to have for this club. Because I know there's a few other, from speaking to people at other youth clubs, they're now looking on almost enviously of, they've got this whole pathway now to pro.
Yeah, so the Burnaby FC came to fruition before I joined last summer. So the amalgamation of the clubs in Burnaby coming together, it kind of did create a little bit of a super club of sorts. But, we still have that pathway within different age groups for players to move up. It should always be the dangling carrot that if you're good enough, we will promote you from within. That's always should be the way that academies work. We want to have a merit-based system where players who train are rewarded based on, based on their performances, based on their efforts, based on their commitment, based on their training. So having now a League One program does add to that in terms of the players that we'll have at Burnaby FC. So for example, our 2007 and 2006 group that I currently coach, they are now looking at how they can progress within the next 12 months, or in the older group's case, in the next couple of months, to League One. And I know that we've seen a lot of success in Ontario as well with the way that League One is working out there. And I think realistically, with the amount of talent that is here in BC, that there's no reason why the League One in this province couldn't grow as well. There is enough players. There is the infrastructure that's just starting to be put in place. There's a number of good-sized clubs already that do exist, and I foresee it in the next few years growing in the right direction. There's definitely the opportunity for other clubs to do it and grow football at the semi-professional level in this area of the country. Definitely.
Oh yeah, I mean, what they've done in Ontario, 2 divisions, promotion, relegation. I mean, obviously my dream, and as folk from from the UK, it's like when you've got promotion relegation, add something a bit extra. That's why I got into watching the VMSL, because you've got promotion and relegation, and to me it makes things so much more interesting. And the talent's definitely here in BC. Just last thing for you, launching any new club, it's tough. What have you found the most challenging aspects of putting your squad together, and what are you most looking forward to now that the season's about to get underway?
I think during the recruitment process, there was a lot of players that came on my radar that maybe either played League One already or could be playing League One for a number of teams. So if there were more teams in the league, there was players that deserved to be involved. So it was very hard narrowing down my squad to the maximum amount that I could have. So turning down players that I either liked or maybe had an affinity for, just that they were good kids, but there just wasn't a number for them within this group. It was very, very tricky, very challenging. We watched over 150 players, I would say. I've gone out to watch a lot of EMSL games. I've gone out to watch college games in the spring season. I've been here, there, and everywhere over the last couple of months. So it's been, very eye-opening for myself. I've seen more VMSL games than I've ever seen in my life over the last period of time. There's a lot of good talent out there. So the recruitment part was very, very challenging. I was lucky enough to have done something very identical in 2022 with FC Edmonton, where we had to go through a trial process. At the beginning, we went through, again, a similar number of players, maybe 150 to 200 players over about 2 months. So, narrowing it down, it's a tricky process because you hope that you get it right, but you feel like maybe one or two do slip through the net, and it's just part of football, unfortunately, that you can't select everyone. So it's a very tricky process, Mike, definitely. But the bit that I'm looking forward to is now getting all the boys together and getting on the pitch. I have an identity that I've created within both of my teams that I'm currently coaching. We've had success already. The boys enjoy it. It's a good culture within the group that it creates. So I want to do the exact same with League One. And again, like the marker of my success is, can we have players move on? Can we have them in the right environment that they deserve to be in? So again, if I can say, hey, I'm offering these players to higher level teams, that's what I'm looking forward to. I want to see them develop, and I want to see them have success beyond this League One level.
Well, I'm excited to see what the team looks like this season. Officially, you are my local team. You're like a 6-minute car ride from me, which is why most of the games at VMSL that I go to is at Burnaby Lake, because it's so right on my doorstep. So good luck for the season, and I can't wait to see the team on the pitch.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me on. We're all very excited to get the season going. We're looking forward to it. There's a lot of good competition in our league, and it's going to be a good summer for us. So we're looking forward to it.
Great stuff from Todd there. Great to catch up with Todd again, knowing him and his mum and dad, Hazel and John, for many a year. And Todd and Burnaby have certainly built a very strong men's squad and women's squad for their inaugural League1 BC campaign. And I don't mind saying I've got them as favourites. Them, TSS and the Whitecaps are my favourites for the men's side this coming season. Also fancy Burnaby on the women's side as well. It's a very strong roster, a lot of good core on the men and women's side of SFU players. And we'll get to see Burnaby in action for the first time this Sunday. They take on the visiting Harbourside FC from Nanaimo. The women's game kicks off at 1 p.m, the men's at 3:30. Burnaby Lake Sports Complex, Field 5 is the place to go. Season tickets are on sale now for all 6 of their double headers. $80 for the season. It's $20 for single game admission. All registered Burnaby FC youth players who attend the game wearing their BFC gear will also gain free admission. So I'm looking forward to seeing how Burnaby FC kick off their first season in the league. But there's 2 other games that are going to be played in the opening weekend of League1 BC. Rivers FC will kick off their 2024 campaign the way that they've kicked off their first two, with a home game against visiting Altitude FC from North Vancouver. That action goes at Hillside Stadium in Kamloops, with the women kicking off at 3 p.m. and the men going at 5:30. But for me, the games of the weekend will be taking place up at UBC at Thunderbird Stadium as the two-time defending champions on the women's side, Vancouver Whitecaps Girls Elite, will be taking on Unity FC, the team they beat in last year's championship game. That game goes at 12 o'clock before the defending men's champion, the Whitecaps Under-19 Academy, defend their first title at 3 o'clock, also against Unity. Two cracking games from two very strong Whitecap sides. And of course, on the women's side, the Whitecaps girls got a huge boost this week when it was announced that the Whitecaps Girls Elite will be taking part as Canada's representatives in the very first CONCACAF Women's Champions Cup. We'll have more on that in the next episode 612 of the AFTN Soccer Show. We'll chat about their inclusion in the tournament, what it means to the women's programme, and what that team may look like. We'll also hear from Whitecaps Sporting Director Axel Schuster and Whitecaps Girls Elite Head Coach Katie Collar. So don't miss that one. That will be out on Monday. The Whitecaps Unity games will also be streamed live as the first games of the week. On the League1 BC YouTube channel, I'll have the calls for both of those games, so don't miss out on that. If you can't get there in person, tune into YouTube. It should be two fantastic games. Go and support the Whitecaps youth and the future of the Whitecaps. But that is it for the football chat. It's not it for the show, because we've got this episode's wavelength and we're going back to 1978. And since the Whitecaps are playing New York, or a New York team this weekend, I thought, let's dig out a song I've had for a while that I hadn't played, because it's on vinyl. It's a bit crackly, but it's about the New York Cosmos. It's by a group called J.O.B. Orchestra and Chorus, released in 1978. It's a funk disco record, and it's simply called Go, Cosmos, Go.
Cosmos, go.
GOB Orchestra and Chorus, Go Cosmos, Go. Not the kind of song we usually play, a different kind of song from our usual ones, but it might stick in your head. But it ties in with the New York theme, and who doesn't like a good bit of funk just before the weekend?
Yeah, who doesn't? Do you like funk?
I'm not a big funk person. I like Terry Funk, the wrestler.
It's a longer story, so I won't tell the whole story, but there was my freshman year of post-secondary school. I was sort of kind of like a roadie for a band, and they did this is in Saskatchewan, and so they did a show like in northern Saskatchewan in like the middle of nowhere, and they were kind of like the opening act, and it was this funk band, and I had heard a little bit about them. I'd heard a song or two or whatever, but then I went to the show and I was just like, oh, this is good times.
I think live,
yeah.
Even though I'm not a big funk fan, I like the odd funk song, but I think live it would be a whole different vibe.
Yeah, and just I'm not a good dancer, as I'm sure you know, Michael, but I danced some that night. It was good. It was good times.
Wow.
Yeah.
We'll have to get you to a discotheque and play some funk. But that is it for this episode of the AFTN Soccer Show. We'll be back with another one soon. But before we go, Zach, let folk know where they can find you online. Any final thoughts you've got?
You can find me on X at ZacharyAM, tweeting updates about if I find out anything from the CSA about #Ballgate, as you like to say. I haven't tweeted much.
Handle the balls carefully, Zach. You don't want to offend anyone.
That's right. I don't tweet that much, but when I tweeted that, there was a lot of engagement. Probably mostly thanks to your retweeting and Alex and Felipe and others retweeting. But yeah, I don't think I have anything exciting to say. It was just the Voyageurs Cup is a special tournament, and it was fun to be able to go to a Voyageurs Cup match to support Vancouver FC
and kick off the tournament this year as well. The very first match.
Kick off the tournament. It was fun to do media for it, and it was a really good week. Well,
I'm looking forward to the feast of football that is going to be coming in the weeks to come. I'll be at Whitecaps Unity, as I mentioned, on Sunday. If you're along at that one, come and say hi. I'll just be in the commentary booth. But get out to a League 1 game if you can this weekend. It's also Provincial Cup weekend over on the island. Some games on the Saturday, and the men and women's A and B Cup finals take place on the Sunday at Starlight Stadium. Get along if you can. TSS Rovers B women's team are in the final, so we wish them all the very best. We'll be back with another show. We'll record it probably on Sunday evening, out on Monday. Lots to talk about, I'm sure. Until then, thanks for listening. Take care. And as always, Mon the Caps.
Going to your first match is an experience you never forget. The atmosphere of what's going on around the pitch looks beautiful, and you always look and go, wow, I'd love to play here one day. If you get the bug, it's going to stay with you for life.
10 minutes left. Yeah, but there's still some time. It's not the final score. We need more than the numbers we're given. Show us you live and breathe the game. You're more than a name. That's what we came for. We can bring you more than the score. Every story. Let's take this thing off of the field into the real world, away from the numbers, away from the numbers.
AFTN